Hello, this is Matt Monfiles. Thanks for joining me today. I want to share with you the name of my blog, which is Refined, which you can find on my website, mattmonfiles.com, which I'll link to if you're on YouTube. I'll link to it in the description below. The name of my blog is called Refined, and I just wanted to share today about why I chose that name, what it means to me, and what I can share with you that can make it meaningful for you too. When you think of the word refined, a lot of the time you think about super fancy, pinky in the air kind of a thing, refined. Where you got a suit on, a tuxedo, really fancy, uppity, nose in the air. Sometimes that's the way that we think about the word refined. And not that I'm not fancy at all, but that's not really the point of the word refined as I'm thinking about it, and the way that it's the most meaningful to me. The way that I'm thinking about refined and how I think it's meaningful in personal and professional development is when you think about the word refined in the sense of like a blacksmith. Like if you put metal into a fire and it becomes refined by fire and becomes pure. And to help explain that, I wanted to share with you the Cambridge definitions of the word refined. So similar to what I was just talking about, the Cambridge Dictionary first definition says, a refined substance has been made pure by removing other substances from it. So that's just like I was saying with if you putting a metal in a fire, and through being in a fire, and through a tough situation, it becomes better than it was before. And it's the same way in our personal and professional lives where we face adversity and tough times, and it's just like with the second definition in Cambridge Dictionary, which says refined is improved because of many small changes that have been made. I'd like to combine those two definitions in a way that explains why I chose the blog and why it's meaningful. And the two important things about thinking about the word refined is, first of all, that it's a process that is done through hardship. It's not that you can't develop without having difficult times. The reality, though, is that we all face difficult times. And if you don't expect to face difficult times, or you don't prepare for it, or if you never find any meaning in the challenges that you face, or you don't face the challenges that you encounter with a growth mindset, you're never going to get anywhere. And that's what Refined is about, is that you're going through these processes, whether it's in your relationships, in your personal life, through challenges that you face, or in your professional life, you're trying to get a better job, get a promotion, enter a new field, try something new, just become the best at your craft, whatever it is, or a certain skill. Or for example, me working on speaking and making content on a website, all those challenges that we face, they are a way for us to grow. And that goes into the second part of it, where not only is it through those hard things that we become better, but it's also the small changes. We often make the mistake of thinking that we can make a quantum leap, that we can just out of nowhere, somehow, we can just sit and wait, or just magically something will happen that will be this giant, monumental event that will absolutely change the course of everything, and you will be a completely changed person. You will, all of a sudden, you will hit the top of a hill, and then it's all downhill from there. And that's not the truth. The truth is that the changes that we make in our life and the improvements that we make are incremental. They're step changes. And that's why it's such a myth, the idea of the quantum leap, of big changes. Because most of the time, even when there is a big change that happens, it's a lot of little changes leading up to it that makes it happen. For example, if you are talking about, say, an example is you're on a bicycle and you're riding up a hill very slowly and with lots of pain, and it's a very great challenge. All of a sudden you get to the top and you just roll down the whole hill and you say, wow, well that was a great huge change all of a sudden now is really easy. I don't even have to do effort. I'm all good now. When in reality, when you're focusing on coasting down that hill, when you get to the top of that hill, it wasn't just because now you're going down a hill and things are easy. It's because you got into that situation by painfully getting your way up the hill in the first place. And that is where it's so important with the idea of refine, the idea of going through that process of, for example, going up a hill, facing those challenges, that through those challenges, through the hard work you do, you have to remember the long term. You have to remember that what you're doing is part of a greater vision that you have. And along the way, not only are you doing that effort and working hard, but you're also, like the word refine, you are removing those parts of you that are not as good. You're leaving behind those parts of you that aren't willing to do the work, that aren't willing to have good work ethic, that have confidence. That's what it is with being refined, is that you are going through that process and trusting that you can, even though we all have to face our weaknesses and overcome them, realize that you can always work to slowly remove those weaknesses or make them not as bad, whether that's through getting rid of your weaknesses or through working on your strengths. Which goes back to the second point with being refined, is that it's small changes that you have to have that. If you don't have a vision of what you want to do, it doesn't even have to be a specific vision necessarily. I mean, the more specific you are with your goals, the better they are. But still, the more that you have an idea of your why do you do things? There's a book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why, and that's a great example of, if you haven't read that book, it's worth reading, because once you know what is your motivation, why do you do things, and you have that strong foundation for yourself, then you can focus on what really matters, which is putting your nose to the grindstone, going up that hill, whatever you want to call it, working at refining yourself through those difficult things. And that is why I've named my blog the Refine Blog, because I believe on top of all those things, the key part of it is that it's an ongoing process, is that being refined is something that never stops. You never reach a certain point in your life where you say, now I'm good, I'm done developing as a person, I'm the best I'll ever be, I've peaked, this is all there is to it. I mean, you can decide to do that, but we're never getting anywhere if we choose to do that. And that's why, if you have that long-term view of saying, I am not set in my ways, I am not stuck in a position, you have that growth mindset that if you keep on working and refining yourself, that there's always room for improvement, and never believing that you're perfect, believing that there's always room for growth, there's always room for change. Sometimes that means that there's a big shift in your life, sometimes that means there's smaller shifts in your life, whether it's just small habits that you change, or the bigger things, such as moving to a new place, or starting a completely new job, things like that. And that's the message I want to have you take away with, is in order to be refined, to always be open to the possibility of continually improving, growing, and always being willing to change. I thank you for joining me. Feel free to look at my other videos on YouTube and look at my website, mattmonfiles.com. Thank you.